Hello guys, welcome back. So in today's video we are going to learn that how can we are going to create our first GUI application. So first, in this GUI application that we are going to create, it has the ability to store users information and create a CSV file depends on the information that user entered. So basically, let's see how it works. So I have already created a code of this GUI application. So first let's see a sample. So suppose if I'm going to run this program, so as you can see, I run this program, a pop-up will appear. So basically it is the interface of our GUI. I named it GUI. Alright, so now suppose if I write the name and age and email, gmail.com, and the gender and the check mark. So there are so many steps here. First, to create the interface just like it is appearing here, and then there are input fields, 4 input fields: the name, the age, the email, the gender, and then also the genders, the box that we need to create, and then the option that if the user is a teacher, or either a teacher or a student, and then to check if the user want to subscribe our newsletter, and then to click the submit. As you can see, if I click the submit, all the information that I entered is disappeared. So cross this GUI and then see in the system. So as I see here, there is a file called CSV file. We can see that the comma separated values, and if I open it, I can see that the user that I entered is appearing here. Alright, so suppose if I have so many users, like 10, 100 and users, I am going to run this program again, and a pop-up will appear again. Suppose whatever the name I entered, alright, and teacher, and I don't want to check it, and again submit. Now, so as I press the submit button, we can see that in this file the information has been updated. So if I open it, we can see that the name that I entered is appearing here. So this is how I can auto update. As the user updates its information, his or her information, this file will be automatically updated, and this application will be used if I have so many users and I want to maintain the record of each and every user. So I can use this GUI application here. So I hope it is clear that how it is working. Now let's create it from the scratch. Leave this code, and we don't need it. We will create it. So it is the great practice if you are going to write the code along with me. But if you don't want to write the code and if you just want to understand, I will provide the code in the video description, so don't worry about it. So basically there are 6 steps. That first we need to create an entry box, and then second we need to create combo box, and then the radio button, and then the check button that user want to subscribe or not, that we have just discussed. And then we need to create a submit button, and then we need to write all the information that we have just created on the CSV file, which is called the comma separated value. Now let's start. So the first thing we have is entry box. So I am going to write here entry box. So first we need to import tkinter, because it is a tkinter application. All the GUI application, I need to import a tkinter library. So I need to import tkinter as tk. So I can use tkinter library as tk, and I can, from this tkinter library, I can import ttk. Alright, so basically as we discussed the import module, and basically tkinter is the library the package that we are going to use to create our GUI application. Now as we discussed that we need to also going to create a CSV file. So to create a CSV file, I need to import the CSV module. So basically the name is date writer. We have discussed when we were learning CSV files. So, and to write anything on the file, I need to import the OS module. So these are all the things, all the modules that we will be needing as we will be proceeding to create our GUI application. Now, the first thing we have is the entry box. The name should not appear here. Now the entry box, the construction of the entry box starts from here. Now the first thing I'm going to store this tk variable in a variable. So I'm going to name it win. So is this in this win variable, I'm going to tk dot tk. Alright, so this will store, this library will be stored in this variable, and now I'm going to name my application. So it is a GUI application, so I can just name it right here dot title. So we have already discussed the title method and GUI. So the name of our application will be GUI. So now the first input that we needed was the name of the user. So I am going to create a variable called name label. Alright, in this name label variable, I am going to use this label module, label method, this label method. So after this, after the variable, I need to write the text. So the text must be enter your name. It is fine. So this text will be stored in text variable that the user have to enter the name. Now I am going to delete this box or delete this label in the application. So I can directly copy the name here and paste it here. So basically now I'm going to use the grid method. So inside this grid method, I need to write the position. The row must be at 0 because it is our first row. Alright, and column also 0. Column is also 0. Alright, this is the row and column, and now I need to use the variable sticky. So basically I need to write whatever the user entered. So sticky variable, and in this sticky variable I need to use this tk dot w. Now this is the thing I have done for the name variable. So as we discussed that first we have created the variable win and assigned the tk module into this variable, and after this we are going to name the title, that what is the title of our application. I named it GUI. You can name as whatever you want. And the first label that we are going to take as an input from the user was the name, so I named it the name label. And after naming it, I am going to basically assign the text that what is the message it is showing to the user. So basically it will be showing to enter your name to the user, and when the user and then I'm going to grid it on the screen. So I assign this position 0 0 to this name label. So basically the name of the I can also assign any variable instead of name label. So but I need to correct the spelling here, so it will not create problem when I will use this name a variable again and again. Now I am going to use the same things for the age label. So I am going to copy these two lines from here and paste it here after some gap. So I am naming it age label instead of name. So everything will be same. Instead of enter your name, I'm going to write enter your age, and the row should be 1 now, because at row 0 I have this name label, and now I want it into the next row. So I am going to write it the row is equals to 1, and the position of the column can be remain the same because it is the second row that I am using, and it is also need to be written, so I am using it tk.w. Alright, it is done for the age variable. Now let's proceed everything again for the email label. So as we discussed that we also needed to write we also needed to store the email of the user also. So I'm going to paste what I copied, and I am naming it email and also email. Alright, so I can directly write here enter your email, and I need to write the position row is equals to 2. So basically because I want it to appear at the third row, so it should not over there, because I'm using the grid method. By using this grid method, it will show as a label on the screen, which we have just seen the sample. Alright, I hope it is clear. Now we have another thing which is called, so I'm going to copy it and the gender label. So we also needed to decide the gender of the user. So I am naming it gender label. Gender, and again gender. So basically I can write here enter your gender, and the row is equals to 3, because I want to appear it at the 4th row, because it is a first for name, 0 for name, 1 for age, second for email, and third for gender label. So I hope it is clear that there are basically 4 basic input entities that user need to enter. Basically instead of enter, I am going to write here select your gender. Alright, it will make a sense. So so we have created labels for each and every entity of the user, entity of the input. Now we need to create an entry box. So for entry box, I need to create a name variable for the name label. Alright, we have already created a name label here. So I just need to use this string var method. Alright, and store it name variable. Now I need to create the entry box, so I am going to naming it entry box. That name entry box, and after this ttk dot entry, and then again the win variable that we have created, and now we need to assign the width. So basically the width I am assigning here is 16. You can adjust it with your screen. Alright, so I'm again going to write text variable. The text variable I can directly write here the name var, which I have just created, name var variable here. So I assigned it here. I have created the name entry box. Now I am going to grade it. So to grade, I just need to use the grid method, and after it I can write here row is equals to 0, the same positions that I assigned here. The column must be 1 this time. So because we have already assigned 0 column, so the column must be 1. And then I need to focus. So again the name entry box dot I am going to use the focus method. CUS. Alright. Now the part to create the name entry box has been completed. Now we need to do it for the same age and email. So the first thing that we have done here, first to create a name variable and assign its string value into the name variable. And after assigning the string value of into the name variable, we have just write it by using the text variable here, but in name bar, and assign with and win variable, which we have also have done in above text. So and then we are going to grid it on the screen as an entry box to assign 0 and 1 value as row and column, and we have just focus here on the screen. Now we don't need to focus again and again. If we have just need to focus a single entry box, it will directly focus the other entities also. So let's move on. So the second thing we need to create for age variable. So the above 3 lines will be the same. So I'm going to just copy and paste it here. So I'm naming it age variable. So the age variable will be assigned the string value. Whatever the user entered will be stored here. And then I'm naming it again age variable. Everything will be same. I should name it here age entry box. Alright. Now the width that I will be giving is 16 also, so there is no need to change, but the value of the row must be now 1 because I'm using the second column, and basically for the first column I have already used the row 0 and I need to move on with the row. And also the name must be changed here, it must be age entry box. So I hope it is clear. Now again I need to do the same thing with the email. So I'm copy and pasted here and I'm naming it email variable. Alright. For email variable I have stored the user whatever the user entered in email where var value variable, and I am naming it again email entry box, and the width will be the same, and also email variable. Now I am going to write here email entry box. So the value of row should be 2 now. Alright. Yes. So I have already created for name variable, age variable and email variable. All of them must have the same width. It is 16 here. So you can change it with your screen or your wants or your requirements. Alright. Now let's move on. So we have already created entry box for 3 entities that are required. Now to create a combo box. So basically to create a combo box we need a basically in gender we have 3 options, either you are a male or a female or other option. Alright, so we are going to create a combo box. So it is our second step to combo box. I just copied it from here and I can directly paste it here as our second step. Alright, to create combo box. Now the combo box that we are going to create, it is for the gender basically. So first again we need to create a gender variable and store the string var into it, whatever the user tk.string. String var variable. Alright, it will be whatever the user entered, the value will be stored in this gender var variable as we have done for email, age and name. Now I need to create a gender combo box. So I'm naming it combo box. Now dot combo box. So now in this combo box method, most of the things will be same, just like win and width variable. Alright, so I'm just copy it from here to save time and paste it here. So basically the width of this gender box will be, I am going to reduce it a bit with 14 because I want it to appear small as compared to other entry boxes. So text variable should be gender var because I have created gender variable for separate gender. So there is one thing I need to create. So it is a state. So I need to, so there is nothing that user need to enter, already must be mentioned. First of all, user must have three options here, either male or female or other option. So there are three options, so I need to mention the state. So I am using this state variable. So I am naming it read only because user cannot change it. So I am naming it to read only. Alright, the state is read only here. So I have created a combo box. Now I need to mention other options also, that what are the values. So the values, to mention the values, I am naming it values at the index of this combo box, and now the values must be male. Alright, or I can say that either female and I can say that other. Alright, there are three options only, male, female and other. So to enter the position, that as a default what value from these three will appear. So we already know the indexing, it is at index 0 and it is at index 1 and it is at index 2. So I want it to appear male as a default, so the user can also change it if the user wanted to. So I can write here combo box, right, or I can write here current. So basically current will decide the current value that I want to add as a default. So I am naming it 0 at 0 index. So the at 0 we have male, so male will appear as default gender, and if the user want to change it, the user can change by selecting the other options, male, female and others. Alright, I hope it is clear now. So I'm naming it current 0, so I hope it is clear now. I'm going to grade it, so I also need to print it on my screen. So to print it I need to use the grid method. We have already used it a lot. Now I'm naming it raw is equals to 3 because at 2 we have already used it, at raw is equals to 2. Now I have an option for raw is equals to 3. Now for column is equals to 1. For combo box we have created our second step, which is the combo box for the gender. So basically combo box we will be creating for the gender. Now we need to create, moving with the third step, which is the creating radio button. Now we are moving with the third step. So to creating radio button. Alright, so we have already discussed that user, either the user is a student or a teacher. A user can be a student or a user can be a teacher. So we need to create a button, or I can say that a user type, which decide the user, a user can decide an option will be available for to select only one option, either student or teacher. A user cannot select both options. Alright, or he or she has to select one option. Alright, so now first I'm going to create a variable called user type and assign string var. Alright, tk.string var. Now whatever the string value will be stored in this user type. And now I need to create a radio button, first one. So I'm naming it radio button 1. Alright, So in this radio button 1, I'm going to use the tkk module and then radio button method. Radio button. So basically it is a method available in this library tkinter. So again the win variable, and after the win variable I can have text. So in text the first thing we have is student, and then value, and the value when the if student select is if the user select a student, the value student will be stored. So basically here if the user select the text student, the value student will be stored in value variable. All right, and after this a variable user type will be stored in variable. All right, so basically here we are going to radio button 1 is for the student and radio button 2 will be for the teacher. So now I need to grid this radio button on the screen. So now to grid this I am going to use this grid method. Alright, so I am going to name it raw is equals to 4 because I have already used so many rows, and the column I can say that 0 will be fine. Yes, I want it to appear at the 0 column at 4th row. Alright, so now for radio button 1 it has been completed. Now for radio button 2 I just need to copy these last 2 lines and paste it here, and I'm naming it radio button 2. So basically radio button 1 is for the student and it is for the teacher. Now the second option, if the user selected the second option, the value teacher will be stored in value variable, and user type will be the same because it will whatever the string value will be stored here, so it does not change. Alright, but now I need to change the value of the column because I want it to appear at column 1. Now I need to change it radio button 2 to grade it on the screen. Alright, I hope I did not make any mistake by copying pasting it, so you need to be careful if you are doing it along with me. Alright, now we have completed to create the radio button. Now we are moving with the check button. So basically for check button it is the 4th part that we have. So basically to check button that user wants to continue to be updated. If the user wants to continue to be updated, then it will check the button, otherwise it will not subscribe the subscription. So there are so many ways we can use it, or I can say that if the user want to subscribe my subscription, then the user will check it. Okay, if the user does not want to subscribe the subscription, then user uncheck it or leave it blank. Alright, so I need to create the check button for the user. Alright, so if you are new to this channel, please hit the like button to this video and subscribe my channel so you will learn more and more, I hope. So let's create the check button. So to create the check button, I again need to create the check button variable, and in this check button variable I need to store not to the string variable but to the integer variable value, because it will store as an integer. So basically check button variable, so I'm naming the check button variable, and now int variable. Alright, so as we see that we are using almost a string variable for the string values, and I can also use integer variable for the integer values, because it is a check button. It will be check or uncheck, so it will be 0 or 1, so I can use integer variable instead of a string. Alright, I hope it is clear. We have already discussed integer data types and string data types in previous videos. Now I'm going to create a variable called check button. So in this check button variable, I need to use the check button method. So this check button method will create a check button for me. Alright, again the win variable and the text. If the user text, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, or check if you want to subscribe our channel. I can see that channel, you can see that all subscription or newsletter, whatever you want. Alright, I said check if you want to subscribe our channel. Alright, and then I need to create a variable and store check button variable in it. The value whatever the user will enter will store in this variable. Alright, so make sure you does not make spelling mistakes while assigning the variables. Alright, check button on the screen, so I can just directly grid it by using this grid method. So at this stage I need to use the row 5. So I need to use the row 5, and after this I need to use the column span 3. So basically it is a check button. For this I need to use this column span. Student, we have already completed this fourth part to complete the check button. Now we need to create a submit button. After user entered all these details, his name and all the 4 entities, to check the button and select his or her gender, and after all this it needs a button that how can it submit its information. So for this we need to create this 5th step to create a submit button. So I can directly create this button by using this function. So first we need to create a function. So I'm naming it function action. You can name it whatever you want. And after this we have already created a username, a variable. Alright, so make sure if you spell name differently, like first we have created this name variable, right, name var, right, age var. So these variables must be spelled correctly in this function. So first I'm going to create a variable called username, and in this username I'm going to assign name variable, which I have already defined above, and I use this get method to get the value stored in this variable and store it in username. And then I'm going to create user age variable and then naming it age variable dot get, to get the value in age variable and store it in user age. And then I'm going to the user email, and then I'm using it email variable dot get, to get the value in email variable. Alright, so I have done it for age variable, name variable and email variable, and get their values and store it in username, user age and user email. Now I need to print the information of the user. So I am using string formatting. It is the effective way to print the information that user entered. So first I have the user name. So whatever the name of the user, I need to use this curly bracket and username. So the username is the variable which will have the value that user entered. So username is, I can say that first is age. So is the age of the user will appear here, and then I can say that years old. So after that I can appear the name, the email of the user, and after the email of the user, I can say that suppose Ali is 22 years old, and then his username or user email will appear here. Now let's move with the user gender. So I'm going to create a user gender variable. So, and then gender var, I have already created a variable called gender var and get its value. Alright, now I have all the user gender, and then we need to have the user type. So I can just write here user type dot get whatever the subscription the user wanted to enter or not will be stored in user type. So make sure the names must be the variable name must be unique. Alright, so I have already used the user type variable in the check button, so I need to change it a little bit. Alright, so now I need to check if the user subscribe the subscription or not. So to check it, I need to use the if condition. So after this check button that I have created, check button variable. Alright, so I have assigned integer value to it. So either it will be 0 or it will be 1. So if it is 0, so if it is 0, then I can say that the user did not enter or did not subscribe the subscription. So I can say that subscribed is equals to no. Alright, and if the user did subscribe the subscription, I can say that I can just copy it from here and paste here. Yes, the user subscribed or not. Alright, if the value is 0, then it will appear no. If the value is other than 0, it means that user has subscribed, then it is saying the subscription is yes. Now I need to print all the things that user entered by using the string formatting. So for the first variable I have is the user gender first, and then the second thing I have is the user type, and then the third is the subscribed, that the user has subscribed or not. So these three things will appear on the screen. So we have completed the fifth step, which we need to create the submit button. So it is basically our submit button. We are applying it by using the action function. So now when the submit button will triggered, then these three elements will appear on the screen. Now let's move forward. So the last step we have, that we need to write all the details on a CSV file. So we have collected all the details that user entered. Now we need to write it on the CSV file. So let's proceed. So to write on CSV file. Now to write on CSV file, I am going to create the same function. I am naming it action. You can name it whatever you want. So the first thing that we need to do is to get each and every information that user entered. So the same thing which we have applied here. So I need to copy here that username variable and user email and user gender. So I have get these three things: username, user age and user email. So another thing that I needed, that user gender. So I have created a gender variable, and dot get. So by using this, it will get the value whatever will store in gender variable and store it in user gender. Now I need to for the user type, I have created a variable user type and then user type dot get. So it will get the value of the type of the user, that either the student or the teacher. Now again I need to check the if condition that user have. So I just need to copy this if and else condition, and then I can directly paste it here in order to save time. Now I need to write each and everything into the file. So in order to write each and everything, I can directly use with open. I am naming the name of the file is file.csv. There are so many modes to write on CSV file, so I am using this append method. So if there is no file, the name of the file is file.csv, then it will automatically create one. So I want it to appear on new line, so I am naming it new line like this. As F. So F is represent the file, and I am naming it dictionary writers. And F. So and the name of the field, and I can directly write the field name. So basically the field names I have here, the first thing I have is the username, and then I have the user email. The name should be capital. Username, user email, the email address. And user age and user gender, user type. So, and the last thing, the variable that we have created is subscribed. So these all the things we have as the detail, or I can say that the field names. Now I need to use the if condition os.stat. So basically, and it needs to create a file.csv, which is the name of our file. I need to mention the size. The size should be 0. Now we have we check the condition that the file must be empty initially. Now we need to use the variable dict writer, which we have already created here, and using the write method. So first we need to write the headers. The headers basically the headings of the things that user entered, just like the name, email address, and gender, etc. And now we need to write the rows. Write rows. So the first thing we have that we mentioned is username. So username we have in username variable, And the second thing we have is user email. So the user email in user email variable. And the third thing we have is user age, and user age is user age variable. And the fourth thing we have is user gender. User gender is in user gender variable. And then we have another variable which we call the user type. So the user type we have in user, I called it user type. Yes, it is the name basically, user type variable. And the last thing we have is subscribed. So subscribe we have in, let me see, in subscribe variable. Yes, subscribe variable. So now everything is cleared, that everything that user entered will be written on this CSV file by using this method. So make sure that you spell the variable name correctly, otherwise it will generate an error. Now we need to exit from each and every entry box that we have created. So for this we need to name entry box, and then after this name entry box I'm going to use the delete method. So if this delete method I'm using tk dot end, so it will end this entry box, and then I need to, for the same, I'm going to copy this and I need to do it same with the age entry box. And I need to do it with the same email entry box. I need to choose the background color. So for this I am going to use the label variable which I have created, dot configure. So in this configure I need to use the foreground. So I can directly write the color here. You can choose, I'm need 3254A8. A8. So I am choosing this code of the color. You can choose whatever you want. Alright, depends on your requirement. Now we need to mention our submit button. So I can naming it submit button. So by using this button method it will directly create a button for me, and then I can just insert the text here. So basically the text is simply submit, and the command that I am going to put is the action. So basically action is the function that we have created in order to perform every action. Alright, so you can change, if you have written different name of the function, then the same name must be appear here in command. Now I need to grid it on the screen. So to use it I use the same method, the grid function, and the row is 6. Alright, the last row that we have used, let me see. Yes, the 5, the 5th row I have used. Row is 6 and the column is 0. Alright. Now we need to close this win main loop that we have created. There must be dot and then this. So our last step has been completed. So if we have discussed the first step to create entry box, the second step the combo box for gender, the third step is to checking button, radio is either the student or the teacher, and the fourth step we have is the check button that user has subscribed or not, and then the fifth step is to create the submit button. And for to create submit button we need to create a function called action, and after this we are basically here to write on CSV file. So I hope each and everything is clear. Now let's run this program. So there is an error. What is it saying? There must be is equal to, there must be 2 is equal to instead of 1. Alright, so now let's again run this program. There is still an error from CSV import dict writer. Yes, basically in CSV dict writer the W must be capital. So there are some mistakes. Make sure you follow along with me. Now what is it saying? tk.tk. Alright, the K must be small here. The first T must be capital and the second K must be small here. So be careful. And again run this program. There is something still. What is it now? TTK. Combobox. So let's see. The C must be capital in Combobox. Let's see on Combobox. What is the mistake? Yes, the C is not capital. Make sure the C that we are using must be capital when we are using methods. Alright, again run this program. It is still something. TKK is not defined. Basically it's TTK, not TKK. It is TTK. Yes, it is TTK on radio button. It's not TKK. So let's correct it. It is TTK because we have import TTK, not TKK. Alright. So basically it is the typo mistakes. Now we have created our code. Now let's run this program. So as you can see, if I run this program, there is a pop-up will appear. So if I write here my name, my age, my suppose email, and my gender. So as we can see that the default gender is male here, and I can write here gender and check if I want to, and then press submit. I press submit. I go there and see the file has created or not. So we can see that the file has been created, and if I click on the file to see the information that I entered is stored or not. So my email, my gender, and I subscribed it. So now again let's close this file and again run it. So I'm going to again this pop-up is here. So suppose the second name I write here, and the age is different, and the email is different also, and this time it is a student and it does not check the subscription, and press submit. And now let's refresh it and see that the file has been updated. So we can see that the file has been updated and subscription is not here. So it is a student and the age is different also. So if I have so many users, I can maintain their record by just clicking the submit button. So as the user submit each and every time, it will maintain the record. So if I press it empty, I press the button empty and close this file and again run it. So it has not been updated because the program has not been executed. Alright, so we can see that the file is here. Alright, there are some information about the file is appearing here because I submitted the information without any input entity. So as I again run this program, there is a pop-up. Let's close the pop-up and then it is appearing again. Now let's put the random files here and then click on the student, suppose a teacher, and then submit. So and let's check again. First refresh it and then check for the update. So we can see that the random values I write here, it is appearing here. So I hope it is clear that how can we use this file in our coding, and I will put the link for the code in the description. Alright, thank you very much for watching. See you in next week. Take care.